All right. Good afternoon, everybody. I am 3D Bandy, and I'm from Kennesaw State University. And this webinar is going to last about 30 minutes or so. Is about micro internships. So, what's a micro internship? Micro internships are small internships engagements that last between, say, 1 to 2 weeks to 6 to 7 weeks, as the need may be. And these micro internships, especially with the help of Parker Dewey's platform, are available online. In other words, students who do this internship will not have to go visit a place certain days or times of every day or a few days in a week. So that gives them complete flexibility
Recording in pro.
in the way they can access and get engaged in these micro internships. The second aspect about this is that these micro internships, unlike traditional internships, are not connected with credit hours. Instead, these micro internships are arranged in such a manner that students actually get paid for the number of hours they get engaged. So, first, they don't get credits, but they are compensated in terms of actual payments, actual money that they get working for these projects. Some of the benefits that I see are our students being able to do multiple micro internships as they pursue their degree programs. And as they do it, they can create a dossier of these credentials that they can use. And since many of our students, especially in the graduate online programs, are coming from other major areas, other work areas, and are in a way they're switchers or planning to switch to more IS and IT related fields, these credentials can be extremely valuable. Almost all of them in these grad programs are fully employed. That's why it's also very difficult for them to keep aside some time every day or a few times every week to go visit another company to do any other project. So the online nature helps. The nature that these can be completed within a few weeks also creates other flexibilities. For example, between two semesters, when we have 2 to 3 weeks of time when no classes are met and no coursework happens, these are the times a resourceful student may complete many micro internships. That way can create a sizable dossier of these credentials. From the employer side, I do see many advantages. First, these are fully online. Second, the platform, and Kristen Schrader from Parker Dewey will explain the platform more in detail with the help of a set of slides. But the platform provides the employer or the provider of this, micro internships, a seamless capability to work with Christine and her associates and create these small micro internships in the backend and load them. These are fully searchable. Students' skill sets are matched, students are suggested, and they can also look for some specific keywords. And once they hone on to it, they can apply for it, and the manager can engage. And once both of the parties decide, they can start the micro internship. Second, uh, employers often would have amount of work that possibly cannot justify a full length traditional intern. So this is an opportunity which can still have them try our talent that we have at KSU, especially in the online programs. They can use small morsels of work, subdivide work in that fashion. If they have work that needs to be completed within 1 week, say, they can distribute it into 4 or 5 different micro internships, can have 4 students completing those 4 parts. If they have an internship where the skill sets that are required may not be available or may not be expected in one single student, they can divide the work depending on the types of skills that are needed, and then they can aggregate. So I see that this gives first a flexibility in the way you can divide and aggregate, both skill based as well as time based. Secondly, in the way the platform helps a facilitated manner to interact with students, choose talent, create these matches and have the work done. At the same time, students get paid and they can do these small internships through the semesters as well as in between their semesters. So that's the value proposition that we see for our students, and we can sort of hopefully see from the employer side. And now I'll pass on to Miss Christine Schrader from Parker Dewey, and she is going to take us through the set of slides that her platform provides and how employers, or the managers who have these projects as capable internships, small internships, can work with the company in the back end and offer those for our students. So passing this on to Miss Christine Schrader now.
Thank you so much, Dr. Bandy, and welcome to everyone who is joining us live. And if you're listening to the recording, welcome as well. And thank you so much for your interest in learning more about this new opportunity to engage KSU students. As Dr. Bandy said, this is a really unique opportunity that's very flexible, that is very focused on helping both you and the students and really creating a genuine win-win across the board. And so we're really excited to partner with KSU and particularly Dr. Bandy and their team to help you learn how you can take full advantage of this new way to engage KSU MSIS students. Just a couple of housekeeping things before we dig into the content. Yes, we're recording today's conversation, so we'll send that afterwards to anyone who's attending live. Happy to talk further, though, if you have any questions. I will keep the chat open, so if you do have questions, please feel free to put those in the chat and I'll do my best to answer them live. Now, before digging into the content itself, I do have one quick question for those of you who are joining us live, and that is, love to know, what hiring challenge or challenges are you trying to solve right now? So do you have an open entry-level role or an internship that you're recruiting for right now? Or maybe you have some other challenges around branding or DEI or assessment or what have you. I'm going to stop talking for just a moment. Please feel free to answer this quick question. You can choose as many of these options as is appropriate. All right, so thank you for those of you who are answering the poll. I'll leave it open in case we do have some late arrivals or if folks are still thinking about what they want to say for their answer. And again, you'll see these things in a little bit as we will circle back to these different topics to specifically talk about how micro-internships can help address some of these particular pain points. So more to come with these options. Thank you, those of you who participated. So without any more ado, I want to just kind of give you a bit of a road for today's conversation. We're going to talk a little bit about what micro-internships are. Dr. Bandy gave a great overview. I'm going to get into a little bit more granular detail and also talk about how this can seamlessly plug in to all of the other recruitment strategies or initiatives that you may have within your organization to recruit early career talent, whether that's internships, full-time roles, co-ops, apprenticeships. There's a lot of different ways that might look in your organization. So we'll talk about how this can complement some of those efforts. There will be an opportunity in the middle of the presentation for you to say, okay, good, I have some information. I'd love to just think a little bit further. But then the second half, we'll talk about how you can get started with posting your first project. So if you have a project in mind, do stick around, and because we will talk about that level of detail towards the end of our session today. So just to give you a little bit more background about Parker Dewey itself. So our organization focuses exclusively on these micro-internships, which for organizations like yours is designed to help you access, engage, assess, and ultimately hire early career talent. Early career is key, as this is something that is truly designed to focus on folks who are pursuing entry-level roles or internships within an organization. So these might be individuals who have years of experience doing other things and might be pursuing a graduate degree at KSU to pivot in their career. They might be folks who are working and trying to build their professional resume, if you will, in a new target area and seeking out and pursuing these technical skills through their graduate program and studies, but then also wanting to pursue these projects to be able to build out their resume from a practical standpoint. They also might be students that are juggling lots of different things. And so the flexibility, as Dr. Bandy articulated, is really key and helpful, yes, for the students, but also for organizations like yours, because this gives you an on-demand option to be able to engage students year-round. Now, we call these projects micro-internships, but by definition, these are short-term, paid, and professional. We've been doing this for over 10 years. We actually created the concept of the micro-internship. And along the way, we've learned quite a few things about what makes a good project, what is fair and reasonable compensation, and how to make this easy for you and for the students. And so that's the easy piece is really key. And you'll hear me say that quite a bit throughout this presentation, particularly when we talk about how the posting of the opportunity works. Now, the Parker Dewey platform accesses students across a nationwide pool of post-secondary institutions. But for the purpose of today's conversation, I will share with you how you can make your project exclusively available for KSU students if you wish to do so. And again, this is designed to help you reach your hiring goals, whether that be for a short-term project that's been lingering on your to-do list. We all know we have some of those. Or it might be something where you're thinking longer and more strategically, where you do have an entry-level role or internship that you know is going to be coming available at your organization, and how this might plug into helping you fill that role. Now, early career recruiting, I want to talk just a moment about it because it can be really difficult. My career started in human resources, where I did some early career recruiting. And those of you who've been to career fairs and the like, you can certainly attest that it can be really, really challenging to be able to assess somebody who is early in their career, as they kind of all look the same. They don't have a lot of resumeable experience that's recognizable or practical, and it's expensive. Students oftentimes they go to career events, but many of them can't get to all of those different events, particularly if they're attending school online, like many KSU students are. What that means for you is it costs a lot of money. It doesn't necessarily make for effective results. Rent eggs are high, and one-year retention is particularly low for early career hires. Our mission here at Parker Dewey is to help you change that. We really want to reduce the number of mishires. We want to help you engage students early in their academic program, and we want to help you and the students make a more informed decision about, is your role at your organization a great fit, both for you and for that student? And so that's the kind of thesis or premise behind the micro-internship. And so those of you who are in a hiring role, whether you work in human resources or maybe you work in an organization, but you hire folks, you have members of your team, myself included. I have direct reports as well. No matter where you are in your status as a hiring manager, Parker Dewey and micro-internships can help. So for example, several of you, when we answered this initial poll, indicated that one of your challenges is that students don't know who your organization is. Branding. How many of us go to career fairs and, we know who the big long lines are going to be at those companies that are marquee big brand names. Students are lining up to work with the household name organizations or talk to those companies. But, your organization, if it's not a hallmark marquee name, students may not know who you are. How do you get in front of them? Well, these projects can help with that and help to grow student awareness. And we hear that in the testimonials from the students. They get excited to work with your organization because that project is really, really interesting to them. Now, by working with the student, we'll talk more about this, you're able to see the student's skills in action, but also in a very low stakes and low commitment way. This is a great way as well to keep students engaged. Maybe you've attended career fairs, you already have all of your entry-level roles and internships already filled out, which is the case, congratulations, that's awesome. But red eggs happen. And how do you keep those students still excited about joining your team? Again, micro-internships can help because you can give them these short-term projects to keep them engaged and excited. Or maybe you've had some last minute changes that you have an open role that you weren't expecting that now you need to fill. These projects can also give you that on demand pipeline of students who are excited about working for your organization, working on these projects, and you can access those students real time. Now, just by definition, micro internships, again, short term, paid professional projects completed on demand by these highly motivated early career talent. Now, project based experiences are key here. Parker Dewey and our platform is not designed to replace or to help you find students for you to post those open full-time roles or open internships. We're designed for those projects that you have that's really centered around a specific deliverable. If you are going to have interns maybe this summer, I would imagine you probably have curated a bunch of different projects for those students to do. Well, each one of those individual projects can be a micro internship. These projects themselves, as Dr. Bandy explained, are short term, generally taking maybe between 10 and 40 hours in total for the student to complete. That 10-hour project might be completed over the course of a few days, maybe through a long weekend, but typically a 10-hour project is completed over a couple of weeks. Whereas a 40-hour project, that's generally not completed in a Monday through Friday timeframe because keep in mind, these are students, so they have classes and other things going on, but you set the timeline for this. A typical 40-hour project might be completed over, say, 4 weeks, maybe a couple of months. Again, you set that timeline based on what works best for you, and the students will see that so they can apply if that works for them as well. This is designed to be something that you can do year round. And as Dr. Bandy mentioned, these are all paid. Why? Well, philosophically here at Parker Dewey, we just believe that asking students to do real work and not get paid isn't fair. Our goal, though, and going back to what I said earlier, is to make this easy for you. And so part of our way of doing that is that we handle all of that administration, including we take care of payment to the student. The student is on our books. However, you own the intellectual property and the student's work. So that is all yours by being a Parker Dewey client, but we handle the payment and all the other HR headache type stuff so that you don't have to. And the student can do one or as many projects for your organization as you wish, but what we hope is that you find this amazing student is a great fit for something longer term. And if you do want to hire that student for an open full-time role, internship, or some other opportunity on your team, fantastic. There is no cost to your organization to hire them long-term. We want that to happen. We don't want to get in the way of anything that's going to prevent you from wanting to hire that student. That's our mission and goal. Now, as far as the payment goes, we typically recommend around $20 per estimated hour of work. However, it's fixed fee. So if it's a 10-hour project and you budget $200 for the project, great. That is something, again, we'll show you how this all works in a little bit, but the student would see what they're paid. The student would, again, complete the project and be paid that fixed amount, whether it takes them 10 hours, 9 hours, 11 hours, or whatever the case might be. Last thing to know is that these are professional projects. So not babysit my kids, walk my dog, that kind of stuff. Think about those kinds of things that a student would do during a typical internship or entry-level role. And again, you probably have a few projects that are on your to-do list. I know my desk is littered with them right now. Those are great starting points for a potential micro-internship. Now, another way to think of this, though, is to think about some of those open longer-term roles that you may have at your organization. So, for example, we love working with companies who have a specific role in mind. Take the entry-level data marketer role. What we do with you is send us the job description for that role, and we'll help unbundle that job description to identify specific projects that we have seen time and time again that are great micro-internships that become great auditions. Auditions for you to see the student in action, to be able to assess, yeah, they get this project done, but they also are demonstrating those skills that you are looking for in your organization. So for instance, gathering, analyzing, and reporting marketing data, great. A good project to show you that a student can do those skills is something like data cleanup, and visualization will help craft the project. You can see the student's final product and see, did they do a good job? Because those core skills are really critical, no matter what role you're hiring for. Yes, MSIS students at KSU are building a remarkable array of technical skills, which is great. And you'll see those in the course of working with them. But the other things that we all need, no matter the job, are things like, does the student have good attention to detail? Are they interested in working for my organization? Just by simply applying to the project, you'll be able to see, does the student have those skills? Similarly, working with them on these short-term projects just over a couple of weeks, you can discern a lot of things about how well they fit in your organization. Things like, how professionally do they communicate with you? Do they ask good and thoughtful questions? If you gave them feedback, did they take that feedback? Did they make the changes that you requested? Or maybe they got defensive or whatever. Those are things that you can sort out and discern to see, is there really a good fit before moving on to that longer term commitment, that internship full-time or whatever that might be. Timeliness is huge as well. Did they turn the project in on time? Because we all have deadlines to meet. Did the student meet this deadline? And again, good to sort those things out before that longer term commitment is made. And then of course, working on the product itself, you can see that the student's level of attention to detail and quality of work, but you can also gauge things like their professionalism, their intellectual curiosity, their problem-solving abilities, and so on. We find that students really love these experiences. They love the flexibility. They love that most micro-internships are remote so that they don't have to worry about travel and other logistics, and they can do this on their own time. They also love doing this throughout their academic program because the flexibility of this model allows them to work on these projects while also juggling the other things that they have going on in their life, and they don't have to give up those other things like work or school or other commitments, family or otherwise. And that 95% statistic, I do want to just put a pin on that because students have said that this is how they want to be recruited. They want to showcase what they've learned in the classroom. They want to put it to work. This allows them a really flexible and easy way for them to do so. But it also works for you because through our one platform, you can access students at KSU, and we hope and want to post these projects for KSU. But if you do have interests or operations across the country, maybe you have recruiting efforts in California or New York or whatever, okay, this can align with some of your colleagues' efforts in those areas as well. If hiring students from underrepresented backgrounds is a goal for you, know that 80% of the students selected for micro-internship do come from backgrounds that are historically underrepresented in the workforce. And we hear and see it time and time again that the students do a phenomenal job, as evidenced by the fact that 97% of the supervisors who've given these students their feedback have said that the student met or exceeded their expectations. And this all yields some really powerful data for you, especially if you're using this at scale, and I'll give you some ideas on how you can do so. Now, just want to touch briefly on cost, because I know that comes up and is top of mind. There's a few different options. So that on-demand piece is what I'm going to focus on for today's conversation, as if you have that single project in mind, great, post it. And I'll give you a link on how to do that in just a moment. We have a free trial option as well, where you can test this out and see if this works at specific schools and particular time frame. But then we also have the option where if you wanted to try this at scale and work with 10 different micro interns, 10 different students, see them in action, this can really work well, particularly if you have a longer term hiring goal. And again, that $5,000 pilot program does allow you to reach students at KSU at scale, and it can align nicely if you do have those open roles that you're trying to fill. I'm not going to touch on that too much for today's conversation, because if you are interested, again, two primary options: post that first micro internship, and I'll show you how in just a moment. But we'd also love to have a conversation with you about where and how this can align with your team. So just to give you a quick overview here, this if you do want to get started posting your project, I'm going to put the link on how you can do so in the chat, just again, so I'm not any bottleneck for any of you if you do want to get started. I'm going to take a quick breath because this is kind of our jumping off point. I'll leave this screen on just a moment here. If you do have any questions, please feel free to post them in the chat. We will be moving into how you can post a project real time in just a moment. But again, in case you want to snap either of those QR codes, I did want to leave you just a moment to do so. All right, so how do you post this project? Well, it's 3 quick and easy steps. First of all, post that opportunity, and I'll show you some templates to get you started to make that easy in a second. Pick the student that you want to work with, and the work gets done. Now, part of the reason that it is so easy is because behind the scenes, the Parker Dewey team is here and happy to help. Whether you have questions about, okay, what's a good project? How much time should it take? How much should I pay the student? All those nuts and bolts, we have lots of experience helping with. We'll also help you, if needed, with finding the right talent, to ask the right questions to make sure that you're getting what you need. And then we'll give you some best practices on how to effectively work with the student. And we'll send those similarly to the student so that they know what to expect and can meet and exceed your expectations. So just to dive into each of those in greater detail, to get started, we do have a bunch of different templates which can help you make it super, super easy and quick. You certainly can create your own project as well, but I'm just going to start with a template because, that makes it easier for you, and I love when things are easy. So that link that I put in the chat leads you to this page where you can click that black Create an Account button, and you can quickly create your Parker Dewey account. It takes less than 5 minutes. It asks for some brief information about your organization. So we want ideally your logo if you have one, link to your website again if you have one, but a little blurb about your company, which the students will see when they're applying to your project. Now, from there, you can know that there's no cost to creating an account. There's no cost to posting a project either. So explaining how it all works, feel free to read through that at your leisure if you have additional questions. But we also have some sample projects just to get you started, to give you some ideas of the types of projects that we've seen successfully executed as a micro-internship and that you can use as a starting point. So let's say, for instance, you have some documentation that maybe needs to be developed or even updated. Great. I'll click on this post this project example just to give you a quick starting point. And that project, again, goes and is pre-populated for you. You can tweak this description however you'd like, whatever timeline makes the most sense for you. You can update this deliverables however you'd like. But again, real quick and easy, it gives you that starting point. From there, click on and add your location. This makes it easier for you to be able to say, yep, I'm in Atlanta, this is my information. But maybe you're across the country. Maybe you are needing to coordinate time zones for whatever reason. This helps you and the student to know where you're located, which might be advantageous. Also, if you are located elsewhere, maybe the student is too. Maybe the student doesn't even realize that your company has great opportunities that are right in their backyard. So this can help you attract students geographically that are interested and maybe not interested in moving at that particular moment. Now, most projects are remote, and we definitely recommend to keep it remote whenever possible. That makes it easier for you. It also makes it a lot more accessible to more students so that there's no travel expense or time involved. If it does need to be on-site, you can toggle this over if needed. From there, the next section is where you can post the project's cost. In this particular example, it pre-populates a 20-hour project where the students will receive $400. Now you will see over on the right amount you pay per micro-intern per student. In this case is $444.44. Now, what's that extra $44? Well, Parker Dewey does retain 10% off the top of that project cost to cover our expenses of administering it. So the payroll and other fees, providing the student with a 1099 if needed, and so on. That $44 and change, again, we retain that, but what the student sees and what they receive is $400 upon completion. So in other words, no cost to post, but once you select a student, you would be invoiced that amount, and then 400 of which would be paid by Parker Dewey upon completion to whatever student you select. Now, speaking of students, if you wish, you can work with multiple students on a single project. So maybe this project is something where you would love to have multiple students' perspectives. Now, when you want to work with, say, 2 students, great. Feel free to adjust the number of micro interns to whatever number you wish. Once again, you're under no obligation. If you choose 1 student or you want to choose more, great, no problem. And you can hire the student longer term for anything you'd like at no cost as well. Next section is skills. Maybe your project requires that a student has specific technical capabilities, experience with certain platforms or whatever. You can highlight those both in the skills section as well as in the project description. The next section, very important. This is where you can make your project exclusively available for KSU students. And we really want you to do this if you're interested, and especially so you can reach the students that you want at KSU. So go ahead and list KSU. If you do leave it open, again, no problem, but just know that you can filter students based on their school. This will give you applicants from students nationwide, but again, if you really want to focus on KSU students, list it in the school section so that that will just be available and the only applicants that you see, or you can filter based on the student's school when you see your applicants. Now, the last couple of sections that I want to address here is this questions section. Think of this as a way to save yourself some time, because this is where whatever questions you would ask during a phone screen, ask them here. These are required questions for the employer, or for the student to complete, giving you more information about their interest and fit and background. But it also, again, replaces the need to spend 10 minutes on the phone with them to do a phone screen. So you can ask as few or many questions as you'd like. I'd recommend to ask maybe 2 or 3 questions that pertain to the project so that you can get to know the student a little bit more. There's always this "why should we select you" question, but you can add additional questions however you wish. And then from there, you can save it if you want, but post now, and now the project would be visible for the students at whatever schools, or ideally at KSU. And it's as simple as that. But going back to the PowerPoint, once you've posted your project, you'll receive an email each day that a student applies. You'll see only those who applied, so that you don't have to sort out or worry about anyone or seeing anyone who might not be interested in your project. So you'll see who applied, you'll see their resume, their LinkedIn profile, should they have provided that. But most importantly, you'll see how they answered whatever those short answer questions were that you just posted as part of your project description. And so you can quickly decide, yes, the student has the attention to detail, they put together a thoughtful response, they edited their response, etc. You can see that really, really quickly so that you can decide who you want to work with. If you want to reach out to a student to schedule an interview, feel free. But most organizations find that they don't need to, because those questions become a really great screening tool for them that saves them time and allows them to see that the student is a good fit, or maybe they need to move on to the next one. From there, what you need to do, you'll immediately, as soon as you pick whatever student you want to work with, you'll get an email with their name and email address so that you and they can schedule a time to meet via Zoom, Teams, or whatever works best for you to go over the project. What background do they need to know about the project? What sort of deadlines do you have, milestones that you want them to meet at specific times? How do you want to work together, communicate with each other, etc.? We'll send you some things to think about and discuss during that kickoff conversation, and we'll send the same thing to the students so that both you and they can get on the same page and then begin to work effectively together. Because from there, we find that most micro-internships are very hands-off for you. Yes, the student will check in via whatever you want to set up with them, but in general, the student works on their own time, using their own equipment, on their own schedule, and so on, so that they meet whatever those deadlines and milestones are, and you don't have to worry about thinking, okay, I'm going to check in with a student. Again, this is something they work independently. And particularly at a graduate level, this is something that, again, the students are prepared, they're mature, and they are going to be a great fit for some of those upper level types of projects where you need it done, you want to get to know the student, but you don't want to handhold. This is a great model and opportunity for that. Now, if you or they have questions, we have the client success team here at Parker Dewey that's here and happy to help, whether it is you need help with how do you best work with the student. Maybe the student has questions about payroll. Again, they go to our team. You don't have to worry about any of that stuff. The only ask at the end of the project is let us know that the project is completed, and then that's within our platform, and give the students some feedback. That feedback is so critically important so that both Dr. Bandy and his team, but also the student themselves will know where are their opportunities to improve, where are their strengths, and be able to discern where, and this becomes a great professional development experience for them. Now, how does this help you? Well, hopefully this is pretty obvious, but allows you to build your pipeline, really get to know these students. Yeah, you get that to-do list item off of your plate, but this also builds relationships, deepens your talent pipeline so that you and the student get to know each other in a low risk, effective way to be able to discern, is this a good fit for that longer term opportunity? Now, for companies who are interested in doing this at scale, I do want to highlight a couple of quick examples. We call those internally micro-internship programs, where you're not just hiring a student for some one-off project, but rather you're using this as part of your overall larger recruitment strategy. Now, Parker Dewey helps extensively with this. The first thing we'll do is schedule a call with you so that we understand, what is your goal? Is it that you're recruiting for a specific role? Is it that you're recruiting a particular demographic of a student? You're interested in, say, students that have backgrounds in particular skill sets or areas. Or maybe you're really interested in students from a particular geographic location. Again, we want to understand what your unique roles and needs are so that we can help design a program that aligns with those goals and initiatives. For example, if you have that open role that's really hard to fill, a micro-internship can be a fantastic resource for that. We call those projects job auditions, and I kind of alluded to them earlier, where essentially send us a job description and we'll help you identify projects that can help you see a student's fit for that role. For example, Smith & Nephew was a medical device company who worked with us to help fill some of their business development roles. Now, the project audition in this case was essentially do research on one of our products, develop a sales pitch for that particular product, and deliver it via Zoom. It was a simple 10-hour project. They hired 12 students from a variety of different schools to work on that project, really helping to deepen their pipeline of students because they didn't have to go to all those career fairs. And they ended up hiring 5 students full-time for just that one project. And most of the money spent went directly to the pockets of the students, but this significantly reduced their cost per hire by over 70%. It's a great way to see the students in action, get them excited about working for your organization, and to be able to fill in some of those hard to fill roles within your team. Or maybe your role is really about branding or challenges around, students don't know who you are. Well, campus ambassadors can be a really great way to help students familiarize themselves and hear directly from their peers about what opportunities lie with your organization. That's what Train Technologies, a manufacturing company, did at some of their target schools to help deepen their pipeline of students from a variety of, again, different programs, but targeting specific schools where they wanted to build their awareness at those institutions. Or lastly, maybe you're really interested in trying to reach students as early as possible in their academic program. You love those first semester graduate students, for instance. Great. They would love to work with you on these projects to help build their resume throughout their entire academic program. And that's what Xylem did. Now, you're forgiven if you've never heard of Xylem. I hadn't either, but they're a multi-billion-dollar water technology company that has operations worldwide doing some really interesting work around how do we bring fresh water to populations that just don't have access to it. So it was really easy to get students to get excited about a mission like that, but they didn't know about the company. But the projects themselves were interesting and engaging, and they had hiring managers across their company host these micro-internships, build their talent pipeline, and HR's one request was do these projects with these students, but let us know the good ones, the good students, so that we can hire them for our internship and full-time roles. So it was a great additional option to augment their college recruiting efforts that really served as a great feeder program for them. Now, these pilot programs can be launched extremely quickly. Most micro-internships are filled within a week. So this is something that, if you have a project right now on your radar, awesome, post it right now. But maybe this is something that you're thinking, okay, I want to noodle on this a little. Awesome, no worries. Programs like what I just described can be set up within a couple of weeks once we understand your goals, and it can be a great extension to whatever other early recruiting options that you're already pursuing. Which leads me to my last point, which is the question that I started the conversation with. What are your hiring challenges? Now, looking at the poll results, the most popular response was this grow student awareness and brand. Now, know that there are case studies and ideas around all 5 of these areas. But since this was the most popular response, I'm going to stick with that. And that is, okay, students don't know who we are. Here's a couple of ideas. For example, career fairs. This can be a fantastic opportunity for you to promote micro-internships. Because think of it, you go into the career fair, you've got full-time jobs, you've got internships that you're recruiting for. Awesome. But what about those students that don't qualify for those open roles that you're recruiting for? Having recruited at career fairs, I know I had to turn away plenty of really awesome first and second year students. Or maybe I don't recruit graduate students yet. But gosh, a micro-internship can be a great way to make the case to your boss about why these KSU MSIS students are ones that you should have on your radar. Recruit at the career fair, and now you have something to offer anybody who comes up to your table. So that's just one specific example, and it can be a great way to differentiate your organization from all the others that the students are visiting at that event. So that's just one quick example. Know that there are plenty of others within the deck if you wanted to take a look. So just to wrap up, next steps, post that first project. And I put the link in the chat. Certainly feel free to think about it, but you can post on demand, real time. But if you have still some questions, that's where, again, we have a few different options and where you can take this. But that option number 3 to meet with our team, I'm going to put that link in the chat as well. Because I know my colleagues who talk with employers day in and day out, they have lots of different examples of what other companies and other industries who are facing these specific pain points around recruiting, how this can help. So definitely feel free to reach out to our team, and we'd be happy to have some of those one-off and one-on-one conversations. I'm also going to put my email address in the chat, as I'm happy to answer any questions that you have that you might think of later on. But I'm going to take a breath now and turn it back to Dr. Bandy and team if there's any final questions, thoughts, or things that I should elaborate on.
Thank you, Christine. Hello, everyone. Once again, if you have any questions, in the beginning, I described the values that we see from our side, and Christine certainly added so many points to that. She also added how companies should go about or could go about using these services and the benefit that might accrue to them. So at this point in time, we are taking questions. Christine's email address is there. I am thinking my email address is with you. If not, I'm also going to post my email address here. Please take a minute, ask a question. Whatever is the type, doesn't matter. Please ask your question and let us try to help you in those areas. Please type your chat.
And I'm going to pause the recording now. And so